Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers pregame presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me, it is Broad Street Hockey's own Kelly Hinkle. Hanks, normal day today? Just
I don't know. Did I miss anything?
Business
I was at work all day.
Business as usual, it
Something
seems.
happened?
In case you haven't heard, John Tortorella has been relieved of his duties by the Philadelphia Flyers. He is no longer the head coach. Brad Shaw will be taking over on an interim basis. One would assume for the final 9 games of the season. We did the emergency pod today. It's got a ton of views. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It was me and Charlie reacting at like 40 minutes after the news became official. I was half out of it, but I'm told we made some good points.
It was great.
It
was really good.
I was woken up this morning to the news, but Hinkle, we haven't had your reaction yet. So you see it. It's like 9:08 or something. The Flyers tweeted out.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I was very surprised. First of all, that they fired him.
Yeah.
Never would have expected that to happen. I suppose that there could be some like behind the scenes stuff, like we're firing you so that we pay you the rest of your I don't know. There could be some of that going on, but honestly, like after the presser and the statement and stuff, it sounded very much like this guy got fired from his job. Which that was the most surprising part to me. Also, again, confirming that you control the team. You've been saying for days now, maybe these final 9 games, we don't have Torts behind the bench.
You know,
Danny was like, heard.
It's
yes,
very
chef.
funny. Very funny. After yesterday's show, so I stuck around for a minute just to record a short video, like reacting to the comments, and it's like, yeah, this might have to be it. And of course, before we like get around to editing it and putting it out, it becomes dated. So we turned it into a different thing, like me reacting to the news and like rewinding, 16 hours or whatever. And
You're probably wondering how I got here.
It was we put the record scratch in. Nice. Brenna absolutely killed it. It was very funny. But like, I think on yesterday's show, we were like, yeah, I don't think he's getting fired, but like maybe there's some sort of, and it's, no, you read that statement and it's like, he has been relieved of his duties, Danny Briere said. And in the press conference, it was at like 5:00 today. It wrapped up a little bit ago. It's like almost 20 minutes. Danny Briere meeting with the media. No Jonesy, no Hilferty up there. It's just Danny. And he says we had differences of opinion, that his comments about not wanting to learn to coach a season like this were part of it. Yeah. But it was an accumulation of things that really started to pick up around the trade deadline. And you've seen the frustration John Tortorella has had lately. And they're leaving the goalies in for 7 goals each in 2 games, benching Cam York, and he brought up a couple different things. He said he didn't want to get into specifics, but you could tell there have been some, I don't know if there have been blow-ups, yelling and screaming in each other's offices or whatever, but differences of opinion that have led to this. I guess maybe we should have seen this coming a little more. We thought maybe he won't be back next year, but I still think he is, and this and that. And now it's, yeah, man, maybe we should have seen this coming.
Well, here's the thing. Briere and Jonesy have shown us over the course of their not that long tenure, they're very good at keeping their cards close to their vest. They didn't really give any indication publicly that they were having issues with the way John Tortorella was coaching this team. Torts was clearly having issues. He, like a lot of people, apparently didn't have the stomach for a rebuild because it's not fun. And like obviously speculating that he got fired because of what he said after that Leafs game is silly. That's not why he got fired. But I do kind of think that this is probably something they've been ruminating on for a while. They've been thinking like, all right, this summer we probably got to do something, whatever. And then you can't really say out loud to a microphone. And as you and Charlie pointed out today in Toronto.
Yeah, I hadn't even.
You can't say, I don't want to learn how to coach a team like this. I know you followed it up with it, but I got to do better. But you said, I don't really want to do this. This isn't fun for me.
As much as Charlie and I still think like that's not exactly what he was trying to get across.
Maybe.
But when we give Torts all the credit in the world for being as media savvy as he is,
he knows what
you
he's saying.
then can't come out in the center of the hockey universe
No.
and say something like that and be like, well, maybe. Like, I think it all really makes a ton of sense. And I'm just thinking about like the guys who made this decision. Danny Briere, Keith Jones. Danny says today, you know, we didn't get input from the players. Not like the players came to us or we went to them and, you know, took a survey of the locker room, but we're very close to the locker room. We spend a lot of time with the players. And Danny and Jonesy themselves, both players, NHL players, long careers, been a part of dysfunctional locker rooms. Danny Briere with the Richards and Calder stuff and God knows what else in his career. You know, he was in Buffalo, all that. And Keith Jones, a part of the Eric Lindros locker room and others as well. Like, they know how players are going to, they didn't need to take a survay
they can suss
to
out
understand how the players were going to take those comments. And when it's like, you know, Charlie pointed this out a couple games, last game, in terms of the Cam York benching. Not only, like, you're punishing Cam York, all right, you have to sit there for 50 minutes and work the door or whatever and feel shame. Yeah. But now, like, you're punishing Yegor Zamula.
Everybody else, right.
Like, you know, you're punishing Emil Andre. You're punishing Travis Sanheim, who already has to carry the entire defensive load already, you know? You're punishing Nick Seeler, who I bet you with 9 games left in the season, there isn't a white spot on his legs left.
No,
it's mostly black and blue.
Like,
you know, he came into the season, he blocked that shot in the preseason. He wasn't able to feel his foot for like a few weeks. I bet you that sensation is not uncommon for him at this point in the season. You know, you're punishing all of them because you're mad at Cam York. And yeah, Cam York sucked in that game. And he's not having the season we all hoped. But maybe it's just, it really is this accumulation of things. One thing I found interesting, because we've always had this idea, this thought, going back to when Torts was hired. And we do have to remember, like, hired by Chuck Fletcher, not Jonesy and Danny's guy. But we've just always had this thought, based on Tortorella's comments when he came, like, going to restore respect to this organization. Like, this was more than a four-year like coaching job, you know?
It certainly seemed that way.
The idea that this thing was, and then like 3-4 years down the line, we're going to be the Philadelphia Flyers of old, respected, winning tradition, playoffs every year, competing for the division, all that stuff. That seemed insane, you know? Like, they drafted 5th a couple of years ago. They drafted 7th a couple of years, you know? We always thought he was going to move up. Yeah. And I heard Frank Saravalli on Daily Faceoff today, that went live around noon, say that he was never in really consideration for that.
I'm going to be honest with you.
And Saravalli is close to the organization. He clearly knows people here.
Says a lot of stuff. And that's a very easy thing to say after he's fired and not going upstairs.
Certainly. It seems as if he's held that opinion for a while. I don't listen to Daily Faceoff as regularly as some other shows, so I don't know for a fact. But it seems as if that's been his opinion for a while. And Danny kind of reiterated that. Like, we saw him as a coach, because there was that, okay, maybe, you know, he's not the head coach after this season, but then he's something else and he starts making his way into some sort of front office or advisory role. And Danny kind of poured cold water on that. Like, I see a passionate guy who still loves the coach and that's what he wants to do. Very, very interesting that, like, maybe, you know, because you said before we went live, Charlie and I had a conversation this morning about rethinking the power structure. And maybe we have to rethink what this thing is. And you made a great point. Maybe this actually clarifies who's actually in control. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe Dan Hilferty, his original idea was this, you know, triumvirate. But Danny and Jonesy had this other thought of, he's the coach, and he has a say because we're going to do our best to help him do what he has to do to help develop this team and coach it. But maybe it wasn't exactly what we thought.
Yeah, and to be fair, like, that was pretty much just an inference that fans and media made based on the way that they kind of described the triumvirate. They described the idea that Torts was going to have an input on how the team was constructed, how he was going to be so responsible for rebuilding the reputation of the franchise. Like, they said a lot of stuff, and we took that to mean he's a little bit more than just a coach. And I think that this, like you said, it kind of just says, no. Danny Briere's always been in charge. He's always been driving this bus. He was listening to John Tortorella, maybe. Maybe he was taking some input from him, but he's been the guy in charge the entire time. I think maybe we gave a little too much credence to the idea that John Tortorella was in charge of the team.
And perhaps, like, that was the thought back when Dave Scott and Chuck Fletcher were in charge.
Sure.
Because you don't, like, you bring in John Tortorella and you think, like, okay, maybe this saves my job if you're Chuck Fletcher, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe that's his thinking then, and he could work his way up, and eventually Fletcher becomes, president, and Torts is like Trotz is now running the Preds instead of coaching. Like,
right.
Maybe that was the thought prior to the Jonesy Danny thing, and now and it changed over the last couple of years.
Sure.
That's definitely possible.
Yeah.
It really, I think, clarifies things more than I'll blame it on having not been totally awake when we had that conversation this morning. But Charlie was out for a run. He had to shower before we went live. So I'm going to blame him entirely. That guy just spends so much time in the damn gym. We haven't busted his balls about that enough lately.
That's why he's so jacked.
So the Tortorella tenure is over here in Philadelphia. And he becomes now he's the 9th longest tenured head coach in Flyers history. They've had 23 coaches overall, including interims. I found this interesting. I wanted to know, like, how many Flyers coaches have never coached in a playoff game because, like, they've made the playoffs basically my whole life until the last few years.
Yeah.
7 coaches never coached a playoff game for the Philadelphia Flyers of these 23, but 4 of them were either interims or fired, like, before their first season even ended. Mike Yeo, interim after Alain Vigneault. Scott Gordon, interim after Hackstall. Wayne Cashman was replaced by Roger Nielsen after 61 games. And Craig Ramsey was replaced by Bill Barber after 28 games. So Torts is one of 3 coaches to get 1+ season and not coach a playoff game. It's Torts, Bill Dineen, who stepped in for Holmgren and then got the whole next season in 92-93, and Terry Simpson, who coached the whole 93-94 year. That's it. It's I just found that interesting.
It is interesting.
Like, of all these dudes, he is Hall of Fame coach, obviously. We all know what he did with Tampa Bay, and he's had some success elsewhere. He got to a conference final with the Rangers. He orchestrated one of the great playoff upsets.
Great upset.
Of the Lightning with Columbus when the Lightning had, like, the best regular season in 20 years or whatever it was. But it's crazy that this is kind of how it ends. I always pictured him coaching one playoff game or, one playoff series at least. And I guess last year was his opportunity and they fell apart. But I just 9th longest tenured head coach and no playoff games. Crazy.
I mean, nothing he could do about that, really.
No, I mean, not where the organization was.
He knew what he was signing up for.
Yeah.
Like, he saw the state of this team when he signed on for the job. So, like, he had to know it was going to be rough going as far as playoff games went. But
now we have Brad Shaw is the interim head coach. I assume he'll get at least these 9 games. A second chance as at an interim job. He took over behind the Islanders bench first year out of the lockout, 05-06, after the Isles fired Steve Steerling. They got off to an 18-22-2 start. Yeah, I never heard of him. Brad Shaw's record that year, 18-18-4. So a 500 coach.
Perfect Flyers coach.
So we'll see how he does. And looking forward to having a former colleague of Brad Shaw, perhaps this weekend. Rachel Dory is going to join us.
Nice.
Maybe during pregame, maybe it's a pre-tape that we'll see. But want to talk to Rachel about Brad Shaw because she has worked closely with him in the past. Thinking about what Shaw is, we've kind of said, I don't know if they go with, like, the assistant who moves up and now he has to change roles. But looking at what the team has just been through, we like what he's done with many of the defensemen. You think he has a chance beyond 9 games?
So I don't know. I kind of think that it's a mistake to always assume that an assistant coach that is good should be a head coach. Because I think they're two very different jobs. And Bradshaw is exceptional at coaching the defense. He's really, really good at it. And I would prefer, like, obviously he gets the interim. Like, they're not going to hire a guy for 9 games.
No.
They had to pick one of the two, and it's not going to be Rocky.
Imagine that, like,
that would have been really funny.
You couldn't do that. Like, even if they think, okay, Shaw is this, but he's better. Maybe Rocky makes a better head coach for whatever reason.
So
you
funny.
can't do it for PR reasons.
No, people would have lost their minds.
You'd have a riot at
It would be incredible.
You'd have a riot at the stadium tonight.
So they had to name one of these two guys head coach. They picked Brad because he's not a disaster. I would prefer that Bradshaw be kept on in an assistant coaching role by whoever they hire next than take on the head coaching job. And maybe he's good at it. He might be. But, he's a 500 record in the time that he's been given to do it, which is not great. And you just know that once you're the head coach, like, you're the guy that gets fired if anything goes wrong. Like, that's just how it works. Saw it today. I would prefer that we keep him, like, just turning defensemen into studs, if at all possible. Like, if I'm Danny Briere, when I'm interviewing head coaches, I'm like, hey, so, like, you cool with keeping Bradshaw? Because he's real good at his job. And if the answer is no, unless it's like, David Carl, or like for some reason John Cooper decides he wants to leave Tampa or something, like, there are very few exceptions I would make to the idea that, like, you're not willing to keep Bradshaw on as an assistant. So, like, that's kind of where I am with it. But
maybe
it's cool
he moves to like head of player development or something like that.
Something where he's still around to do a lot of work with the defensemen and influence the way that they play, because I think he's done an incredible job.
We will get a lot more into this Torts conversation in post-game, tomorrow's show, this weekend, throughout the rest of the season, the coaching search into the summer, off-season, etc. We do have a game tonight, however, and we have lines and pairs in case anyone's interested about what's actually going to take place on the ice. And it's basically business as usual here. Cates with Forster and Brink, Coots with Mickhkov and TK, Paling centering Tippett and Peltier, and Abels with Delorier and Lixell. Defense remains the same, and it's going to be Ersson and net with Fedotov backing up.
What is the point of this call-up? I'm so annoyed by it.
I wonder if, like...
I'm so annoyed by it.
I'm very interested to know. I might just never get answers, but
we're never going to.
How much of the goalie situation came into play here? But it's going to be Sam Ersson with Fedotov backing up tonight.
We could have had Grebby.
We could have had Grebby.
Scoring power play goals.
Well, I actually have a bold prediction for tonight.
Yeah?
Power play scores.
I feel like they're gonna crush they're gonna come out and crush this game just because, of course, they are.
Rocky Thompson won. We had that great PD video breakdown. It's on this YouTube page right here. Check it out at some point. He breaks down like over 20 minutes talking about the power play. What's wrong with the scheme? What's wrong with the personnel? Everything. Really good stuff. If you haven't checked out Steve Peters' power play breakdown, do it after the show, intermission, whatever you want to do. It's going to be more entertaining than this game in all likelihood. But we do have some interesting, there is an interesting matchup. Like, this would be the headline if not for the news today. Michkov v. Hutson. Matvei Michkov and Lane Hutson meeting, and man, take a look at the Calder odds. Things have really changed even in the last few weeks. Celebrini and Hutson now in a dead heat, each at minus 110. Dustin Wolf has moved ahead of Michkov, but at a pretty distant 20-1. And Mish is all the way down there. He's still listed. There's only 4 guys listed now. Michkov is one of them, but 60-1 in the Calder race. It looks like this might be how it ends up. Thanks a lot, Torts. Your gift to us on the way out here. Maybe if he has like a hat trick in like 3 of the last 9 games, he takes it over, and that's 60-1. Hey, you want to place it at Bet365? It's a big payoff.
Way
but
less impressive.
Man, you just look at the season both of these guys have had. Michkov, second on the Flyers in goals, assists, points per game, power play points. He's tied for second in even strength points with Coots, and tied for first in game-winning goals. I think the thing that we're going to look at in terms of this Lane Hutson conversation specifically is the primary versus secondary.
That is correct, William.
All right. So 18 of Michkov's 31 assists are primary assists. That's 58%. Mm-hmm. Lane Hutson, while he leads all rookies in assists and points, 31 even strength points he has, and 21 of his 49 assists are primary. That's under 43%. So only 26 of his 54 points are primary. That's 48%. Almost 75% of Michkov's points are primary points.
Interesting. It's almost like one of them is a more impactful player than the other. Also, what's Hutson a defenseman's plus minus? How's he doing on defense?
That said, like, he is a defenseman.
Thanks.
Like, the breakout passes that leads to points and stuff, sometimes those are secondaries. And I'm never going to talk crap on secondary assists because I think they are, one, the gift you get for all the times guys don't convert. Yeah. But I will say I think he has a little bit more help, specifically with Cole Caulfield and a functional power play.
Yeah.
Now, Mish could help the power play a little bit, but, like Petey says in his breakdown today, no team in the league is using a 20-year-old rookie basically to funnel its power play through, and that's what we're doing. And we also have, like Drysdale or Andre up top, or if it's a veteran, Rasmus Ristolainen, not exactly a powerhouse. Since he was split up from Jack Eichel on the power play. So you see the ranks, and it's probably going to be Michkov on the outside looking in of the Calder finalists, but they're both having tremendous seasons.
Yeah, listen, I have one job to do, and it's be Matvei Michkov's undying defender. And I'm just going to say that, in my opinion, a forward getting more primary points on an incredibly bad hockey team is a more impactful player than a defenseman who kind of sucks on defense that has a bunch of secondary assists. That's all I'm saying.
He does play over 20 minutes a game. He is one of their top guys.
Which is another thing. Another team, just like they're doing with Celebrity, throwing their kid out there and letting him do stuff, unlike our guy who just kept him on the bench all the time because he didn't back check hard enough.
Yeah, he's over 20 minutes a game, and Michkov is he's at 16-19 is his average time on ice as of right now.
Doing this with far fewer minutes.
I wonder if that goes up in these final 9 games. I bet it does, especially at home. All right, only a few minutes left, so I want to get to tonight's bets. This pregame pick segment is brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you were someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we're taking the Michkov anytime goal. We are going for it. Plus 160. Shorter odds than he's had lately. He's on a 10-game goalless drought, I believe. But also, it's him against Hutson. And I think he maybe has a little Torts weight off of his shoulders, and he seems to step up in matchups like this sometimes. So we're going to take him to score. I might want to look at over half a point, minus 135 to be safe, and maybe to be spicy as well. 2+ goals is 11-1. And I'm also going to take Ryan Poehling to score at plus 400.
Our best player.
He's facing off against the team that drafted him 25th overall in 2017. Who would have thunk after that 2017 draft, the guys we have left are the Florida Panthers' 10th overall pick, Owen Tippett, and the Montreal Canadiens' 25th overall pick, Ryan Poehling.
Just as we all.
He's got 1 goal and 1 assist in 6 games against the Habs, but he got the goal last April and the assist in the Flyers' only meeting with Montreal back in October. So he's on a 2-game point streak against his old club.
All right.
He's got 3 goals in the last 4 games, 4 in his last 7. We're going to ride the hot hand here at a decent 4-1 price for Ryan Poehling. Why not? Make the game a little interesting. It's fine. Ryan Poehling, his 8 goals are tied with Garnett Hathaway for 8th on the team among guys who are still here. Just what a hell of a season it's been.
We're really killing it.
All right. But that is we have a super chat before we get out of here, of course. From BS Martian.
Blessed Martian.
Blessed. That's an L. Okay.
Yeah.
Blessed Martian. Just entertain the thought of Torts being Ducks head coach. Man,
he's going to go to a farm.
They hate their coach, Cronin, out there. I can't imagine they go from one of these guys to another. But we'll see.
Sure,
I wonder how it all ends up. Listen, if someone hires him, Flyers get a draft pick for it before his contract's up. So we'll see. That would be fun. All right. And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers pregame presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll be back with postgame as soon as this thing goes final. Charlie will join us from the Wells Fargo Center, so make sure you're following us right here on YouTube. Hit that reminder bell so you never miss a live show. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. And follow the podcast as well. Wherever you get those, just search PHLY Flyers. All right, that's it. I'm Bill Matz. That's Kelly Hinkle. Till postgame, roll on Tank.
We all silly like the mayor.